Hi everyone. Minus 20 psychic damage here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Cardi B album, Am I the Drama? Rapper, songwriter, former reality star, Miss Cardi B. She is finally dropping her sophomore full-length LP here, 7 years after her debut, Invasion of Privacy. A trim and solid first album that by no means was perfect, but still had a pretty wide variety of timely bangers on it, and it did feel like an official and successful graduation past her mixtape era, even if the viral BODEGA Yellow ended up making the cut in the track list. And this project, this time for Cardi, was actually a pretty significant sea change in hip-hop music, even if Cardi wasn't considered to be like the most lyrical or technical spitter out there, because her success did in a lot of ways flip the hip-hop hierarchy on its head. Not only did she manage to become a superstar within the genre, coming into it as a dancer and a media personality, but gaining the fame that she did kind of broke this intergenerational gender fever that hip-hop had been suffering from, one where the mainstream could seemingly only tolerate one popular female artist at a time. And look, over the decades that it's existed, rap music has had a lot of influential and important female talent, but for a while it felt like there was almost like a ceiling blocking the progression of anybody who wasn't technically the top girl at the time. And in the wake of Cardi's success, we actually saw this massive tidal wave of women rappers doing really well commercially and artistically. Names that are so plentiful and relevant, I can't list all of them in this video. People like Ice Spice, Lotto, Glorilla, and Cardi's even been known to collaborate with some of them. Most famously, Megan Thee Stallion, a Texas native with whom Cardi created her biggest single to date, WAP, or Wet Ass Pussy. And is it her biggest? If not, it's definitely big enough to technically bring this album up to platinum status upon week of release, because the final two songs on this record are singles that are 4 and 5 years old, respectively, and have collectively gone platinum over 10 times together. And in today's streaming consumption age, adding those old songs to this new album contributes to its overall album sales, even if the rest of the tracks on this record see only a fraction of the streams. So commercially, the success of Am I the Drama is pretty much in the bag now, but the cultural and artistic significance of it is still up in the air. I mean, it's not a controversial take to say that 7 years is maybe just a bit too much time to wait for a new record from an artist of Cardi's caliber. I mean, when it comes to being in the mainstream, I think striking while the iron's hot is always going to be important to a degree, and even WAP's popularity, for as much of a reset culturally as that song was, it's kind of washed out with the tide at this point. And in addition to that, Cardi's creative progeny have been providing quite a bit of competition over the last 5 years. And on top of that, more recent singles like the Jay-Z nod Imaginary Players from this record have failed to stir up anywhere near as much excitement or interest as those old songs. That song also just kind of felt like further confirmation of what Cardi does and does not do well as an artist, because for sure she has a distinct voice, a brash delivery, she makes banger beat choices a lot of the time, has a lot of outlandish one-liners, but these characteristics are hard to show off when you're not doing much more than just painting within lines Hove drew up in 1997. Like, why is she doing this? Is it because she's been around a while, or she's from New York? It just feels like she's gesturing towards some kind of rap snob appeal or veteran status that doesn't actually exist for her. And there are parts of the rest of this album, unfortunately, that also feel a bit like a fairy tale. Like the opening moments of the album, which are loaded with this theatrical newscaster chatter about Cardi B being a controversial figure, but also brutal killings, and like her having something to do with one of the darkest chapters in music history. I mean, it is true, Cardi B is occasionally a controversial figure, but even in her most recent court appearances, there were more hijinks than there were, instances of genuine shock. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do think Cardi is a significant figure in music, and I love her unfiltered attitude. I love that she's funny. I love that she has a personality. But the tone of this opening track kind of breaks with her typical level of self-awareness and her tendency to just not take herself too seriously, especially with Summer Walker on this track doing this really urgent, theatrical performance as if the fate of the world just hangs in the balance here, strings and pianos and all. And to whatever degree people are talking shit about Cardi and her career at this point, it directly correlates with how long Cardi has had her fans waiting for this record. If anything, people have been awaiting her return while desperately attempting to tune out all of the headlines and drama that cropped up in the wake of her separating from her ex, Offset. So if anything really would at this point bring Cardi back to her former glory, it would be a record that just returns us to regularly scheduled programming and reminds us of why we fell in love with Cardi to begin with. And it seems like, to a degree, Am I the Drama wants to do that, but at this point, it's not fully sure as to how to do it, so it just tries a little bit of everything to see what sticks. Things in the track list get off to a pretty rocky start with the song Hello, which is this spooky synth trap banger with several ideas worth of hooks, but Cardi and her collaborators just kind of try all of them, from the hello refrains to the yeah, 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 yes, and the it be me line starters. It's a lot of effort without a lot of focus. The following Magnet, though, tries with something a little bit punchier, but Cardi drops maybe one too many doo-doo bars and makes the song difficult to stomach as a result. Be it the Dalmatian line or the A, B, C, D, E, F, G line. Even some of the bars she saves on the back end of the track for JT, formerly of City Girls, don't bite quite as hard as they could have. From here, for a while in the track list, it kind of just feels like anything goes, and the lack of a plan leads to a lack of memorable songs, maybe with the exception of Bodega Baddie, as it's got all of these rapid-fire merengue rhythms, Spanish vocals, punchy samples. It's a track that really brings Cardi B back to her Dominican roots, and is just one of the more thrilling highlights of the album. But yeah, again, much of the first leg on this record just kind of feels like Cardi is killing time, whether she's doing a very low-key Atlanta-type vibe on Salute, which kind of sounds like a Gunna track or a Migos B-side, or a snoozer with Kalani, where it feels like Cardi is just trying to repeat as many lines as she can to get to the end of the song. The real first emotional stunner to come in the track list, I think, is the song Man of Your Word, which, I mean, going into this record, I think we all kind of expected an Offset track or two, and this is one of them, and in my opinion, it's handily the best, even though the presentation of this track is very low-key and very subtle. It's still a powerful moment emotionally as Cardi lyrically goes over all of the years they spent together, the feelings of betrayal, all the regrets, the cheating, etc. The song even sees her wishing him the best and thinking of the various ways in which things could have turned out better. Again, thoughtful moment that is almost kind of undercut by a few songs to follow that attempt to do a similar thing but much worse, including one with Lizzo that interpolates Four Non-Blondes' What's Up, and yes, it is every bit as tasteless and tacky as you can possibly imagine. Thankfully, deeper into the record, things do pick up a little bit with the song Outside, though I would really say this is one of a few tracks on the record that could use a very forceful and amped feature. And then there's Pretty and Petty, which is actually a kind of hilarious Bia diss, a rapper who I mostly only know for kind of consistently going at Cardi's neck for a while now. And even though this song here is very much a delayed response, it's very much a worthwhile response, and I don't really see Bia coming back that effectively from this one. I think Better Than You had the makings of another banger in this track list, but Cash Cobain turns up in the second half of the track for whatever reason with this AI-ass feature sounding lifeless and robotic as hell. The song On My Back is an attempt at a sex jam, but very little of it comes through as genuinely feeling sexy. Not only because vocally Cardi doesn't really have much in the way of finesse or subtlety, as it were, but there are also bars on the track that ruin the mood a bit too, you could say. Now wherever you at is where I want to be. I'm on your dick. I want to hold it when you pee. The rest of the record isn't amazing, but it's not a total loss. Airtime just kind of feels like classic mixtape Cardi all the way. And Principal's prominent Janet Jackson sample makes it one of the more fun tracks on the record too. Then the closing tracks, again, are Up and Wet Ass Pussy. And I mean, I still like those tracks. I still think they're fun. I think even Up has grown on me a bit in the last few years, or at least it sounds better and more lively than some of the more boring songs in this track list, that's for sure. But I'm sure for a lot of fans to have songs this old landing on this album and making up a bulk of its streams, it's a bit of a bittersweet inclusion, because if these songs weren't here, the overall quality of the album would be quite a bit lower. Unfortunately, we got a very bloated, very inconsistent, delayed project here that didn't need to be anywhere near this messy and scatterbrained. And yet that just kind of is what it is. After WAP came out, after Up came out, I wish we had gotten an album that was as trim and as punchy as Invasion of Privacy within a year of those two tracks dropping. That would have been the perfect and ideal moment to drop a record for Cardi. And if things had played out that way, we would basically be in line to get the third album now, not this second record. Sadly, this thing is far from Cardi's best work and is really just not the blowout that her sophomore record had the potential to be, given just how good Invasion of Privacy was. And hopefully those issues with consistency and focus that Cardi suffered from on this project can be overcome on album 3, because honestly, I don't really know if Cardi's career can take another 7-year gap. I'm feeling a light to decent 4 on this record. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Cardi B, forever.